My name is Fred Fenter, and I'm the Chief Executive Editor here at Frontiers. And I'm very pleased to be your host for today's session on the impact of the Frontier Science House at Davos and to explore what comes next. As you will see, we have a very powerful story to tell today. As probably many of you know, the World Economic Forum hosts its annual meeting every year in Davos at the end of January. And what they do is they convene, they get together a community of leaders with exceptional decisional power. They manage to bring people from business, government, academia, international organizations who all get together to discuss and try to align on how to address the challenges that confront all of us in society. We participated for the first time in this event in 2025. So that was a year ago. And we left the meeting with a very strong impression that the role of science had somehow been left in the margins of the discussions that were taking place in Davos. There were many university presidents on hand. There were leading scientists, including Nobel Prize winners, tech innovators. They were all there at Davos, but what we felt lacked was a forum where science could become sort of the organizational frame around which the discussions could take place. After all the important challenges that we are confronted with in society will ultimately be resolved with science. So there was a gap, and where there is a gap, there is an opportunity. So in 2026, for the first time, we launched the Frontier Science House on the Davos Promenade. This became the home for science during the annual meeting. And what we managed to do with this venue was open up an entirely new dimension to the discussions that were taking place in Davos. We had two high-level objectives. First of all, give scientists a seat at the table with policy and business decision makers to guide evidence-based decisions and investments into the best technologies for human and planetary health. And their second objective was basically to shake some of the complacency I think that has grown in this community about the importance of open science. So we really wanted to bring our message about the importance of open science to Davos. And I think this is expressed very eloquently with our objective. The simplest and most cost-effective way to accelerate the innovation cycle and economic growth is to make science openly available to everyone. So I'd like to point out that the Frontier Science House was a massively collaborative project, and when we move to next year's edition, it will continue to be a very collaborative project. George, in his presentation, will highlight some of the high-level discussions that took place during the week of the Frontier Science House. But I really want to stress that the success was directly linked to the support and to the dedication of our 35 partners or so. As you can see in the slide, we had partners from industry, including Microsoft and Novartis. We had important representation from academia, Exeter, Imperial, MIT Media Labs, Chalmers. We had representation of the European Commission, the European Research Council, the European Innovation Council, and you'll see this is also includes a large number of like-minded organizations with whom we were very pleased to share the Frontier Science House platform to project a common voice to the Davos community about the importance of bringing science to Davos. And I think there's another stakeholder group here that I should mention: UNESCO, Pasteur Institute, UNFCCC, International Science Council was an important partner. So anyway, just to show that we build the program in the spirit of co-creation with this important group of partners that we were able to pull together for the Science House. So now let me just show a short video to give you a sense of the dynamics of the event.
Science is the foundation of everything. The world is complex. Different nations, different cultures, different religions. But we do have one story in common, and that's science.
Very, very warm welcome to the Frontiers Science House. This is going to be the venue on the Davos Promenade.
The Frontier Science House is filling an incredible gap. We have 55 sessions across the week from human health, planetary health, technology, open science, and science governance.
We want to show to policymakers, to business leaders, to leaders in academia that there's one very simple thing to accelerate innovation and to accelerate economic growth, to make all of science openly accessible to anybody in the world.
I was thrilled to learn that there is, for the first time ever, a science house in Davos. Evidence-based policy making is at the heart of economic success.
We know that cardiovascular disease is projected to cost society $1 trillion.
The biggest opportunity is, can we tackle diseases that we've been unable to tackle before?
I think this issue of geoengineering is, of course, a hot topic. We have to understand power, we have to understand economics, we have to understand media narratives.
We have to raise the volume even more on climate risk, not less.
And we absolutely need a solution, and that solution must be in decarbonising.
Some of these scientists have some of the brightest ideas. What we really need is interfaces like the Science House here at Davos.
Sometimes industry learns from us, sometimes we learn from industry, but together we are creating some of the most fascinating systems, space systems in the world.
The universities are tremendously resilient because they do constantly reinvent themselves.
If we want a safe, secure world, there is nothing more effective than open science.
When I started Wikipedia and I started saying to people, let's write a free encyclopedia for every single person on the planet. We do it because we love knowledge, and I think that is what we have to preserve.
I'm really glad that science is so well represented here. We need it in Davos, we need it everywhere.
Anybody would admit that you see your mission is to bring the truth to the public.
Science to me
is about understanding the universe around us,
asking the right questions,
so that we can have a better future.
Science for me is hope,
honesty,
real things happen.
The one thing that can unite the world.
I think about it, I talk about it, it's my life.
So I think that the video does give a very good sense of the dynamic that we were able to establish in the Science House project in Davos. George will go through the program in some detail to give insights and highlights, but just at a higher level, it was mentioned in the film, but these are the 5 themes that we developed across the week in our Science House project in Davos. We had, of course, the open science frontier, which was very close to our hearts. We had Tuesday, which was dedicated to human health. Wednesday was dedicated to planetary health. Thursday, we talked about technology more broadly. And then we also had a very strong stream across the week on the governance of science in the 21st century. And now I'd just like to show you a couple of the numbers that speak to the success of the event. As I mentioned, we had 35 partners. We organized 55 sessions across the week. I think that we were incredibly ambitious, but we really managed to pull that off. We had 166 speakers. We had over 1,200 attendees, and hundreds of millions of people were able to hear about the Science House through our media reach. And you can just see here that, in a more granular level, we were able to bring in 3 Nobel Prize winners, 29 senior policy officials. We had 14 university presidents and leaders from international organizations, a large number of CEOs and industry leaders, and also representatives from the funder and philanthropist community. So as I mentioned, that venue was packed from Monday morning until the end of the meeting on Friday at noon. And we emerged from this meeting with hundreds of high-level contexts that are really going to allow us to drive our mission forward in terms of advocating for the benefits of open science and for the importance of science-based policy on every front. So with that, I'm going to invite you to sit back and enjoy the show. George is going to now tell you more. So George Thomas, who is our head of external affairs, will walk through the program with a few highlights. I just want to point out that George was absolutely instrumental in terms of making this a success. That we never would have been able to pull this off without George's professionalism and dedication. So over to you, George.
Thank you, Fred, for your nice words. I'm George Thomas. I'm the head of external affairs, and I've been leading the Science House. I'm thrilled to show you a recap of the 5 days, highlighting a couple of sessions from each day. The first day was dedicated for open science for global challenges, with 3 dedicated plenary sessions. And in the evening, we had a welcome cocktail session on Science Meet Investors, where we had the leadership from the Qatar Development Authority, the European Innovation Council, and a special advisor from the African Development Bank interacting with a scientist. The opening plenary had the leadership from our partner organizations, as you can see, from Novartis, from ETH's board, from Wellcome, European Innovation Council, and more. And they highlighted the importance of transformative science, transformative and open science from their particular fields itself. Let's show you a short excerpt from the panels.
It's no secret to this crowd that AI is allowing and promoting breakthroughs in areas that we never thought would be possible, even as we have to be constantly alert to the dangers of misuse and abuse.
It's so important that access to science and scientific outputs, publications, is open to everyone. So there's no sort of concerns or skepticism what is hidden in the scientific ecosystem.
Yeah, it was a very interactive crowd, and also the leaders from our partners participating in those panels. The second day was dedicated to the frontiers in human health, where we had a mix of different formats, including science policy dialogues, which are high-level panels that discuss science, policy, and business aspects of fields, including precision biomedicine, the future of medicine, antimicrobial resistance, AI in healthcare, and so on. We also had impact sessions, which is actually creating a market environment for the researchers with the policy and policymakers and scientists. And we had impact sessions on cardiovascular medicine, therapies from university hospitals for limited markets, the Human Immunome Project, and more. Our closed-door Chatham House Rule breakfast session on Tuesday was focusing on the human health span, which was led by the Lifespan Academy. And we also had a workshop dedicated to the UN Decade of Sciences for Sustainability, and it was led by the UNESCO. On the Tuesday evening, we had an evening session, an evening reception focusing on the topic of championing One Sustainable Health, where we had speakers including the Undersecretary General of the United Nations, the Executive Director of Global Funds, and the Presidents of the One Sustainable Health Foundation. I'll dive a little bit deep into some of the sessions. One of this is the Advancing Precision Biomedicine session, which was which had panelists including Dan Skowronski, the chief scientist from Eli Lilly, Victor Ambros, a Nobel Prize winner, and together with other startups who actually plays a crucial role in the precision biomedicine topic itself. It was moderated by Magdalena Skipper. There is a quote from Victor Ambros which speaks for itself. As a society, we need to gather around sources and institutions people can trust, sharing outcomes from discussions like this widely, and at the same time, help build confidence in the reliability of those sources. Here's a short video from the session.
We started with a definition of precision biomedicine, and I think it's important to remember that we talked about defining it in many different levels, from the personal to the population level, and it still can be precision. It can be based in molecules, in genomes, in the immediate environment as the microbiome. Of course, we're here in the Science House, But you heard how many different stakeholders need to be involved in order for precision biomedicine be successful, including, of course, the research community, wherever they're based, including the civil society, but investors, policymakers, health systems, and politicians. So that interconnection is so incredibly important.
Yeah, Magdalena summarized it very well in the need of getting all these stakeholders together. Another important session that was a highlight of the Tuesday was on the future of medicine, and it was sponsored by Novartis. And we had the CEO of Novartis together with leaders from Google and MIT who were part of the panel. And this was moderated by Fareed Zakaria and highlighted as part of his GPS show, which was aired the week after on a Sunday. And here is a short video from that GPS show itself.
AI is poised to transform entire industries, none of them more consequentially than medicine. AI is already helping doctors detect fractures, triage patients, and flag early signs of disease. But in the future, the expectation is it will be able to do much more, from developing new therapies to helping us eradicate entire diseases. At Davos, I moderated a panel with 3 people who in different ways are working on the future of AI.
What would an average person's interactions with AI in medicine, in biology look like, and how would it make that person's life or experience with medicine different?
I mean, the biggest opportunity, and you think about it in the long run, is can we tackle diseases that we've been unable to tackle before? When you think about the work actually we do with James's team in Isomorphic Labs, what we send them are what we call undruggable targets. So these are things we were unable to solve with traditional approaches to drug discovery for diseases that don't have good solutions today.
Another session on that on the Human Health Day was focusing on AI for modern healthcare, where which was led by MIT Media Lab, where we had senior researchers from Imperial College, from Sydney University, and also healthcare companies who actually deep dived into the topic itself. I also have a short excerpt from this panel.
It was very clear healthcare is the only sector at the moment that if you adopt AI in it, all stakeholders will win.
Apart from the science policy dialogues, which were like these high-level panels, we also had impact sessions where researchers were pitching their work to investors, to policymakers, and business leaders, and creating a market space environment, as I mentioned earlier. And this particular impact session, focusing on cancer precision therapeutics, included Aloe Black, the American singer, songwriter, and rapper, along with Christina, the CEO of Phidocure, and was moderated by the Forbes Chief Content Officer. Have a look at this interactive format that was really much appealed at the Science House.
I had an idea. Why don't we just block the virus from entering the cell? There seems to be a receptor that the virus attaches to, a mechanism that the virus uses to attach. And if we just, inhibit that interaction, then we would never have infection and subsequent viral load that would call our immune system to inflame us and get us sick. I was reading the papers and I found a scientist who was doing exactly what I was thinking. I called and asked, what do you need? They needed some money to do some subsequent research. I sponsored it, then decided we'd stand up a company.
Yeah, that was an interesting interaction in a market space environment there. But there was a great community interaction happening there. The second day, the Wednesday, was focusing on the planetary health frontiers, which had topics on geoengineering, sustainable cities, space technologies, and of course highlighted the Planet Prize using similar session formats as we had in the earlier day. On the Wednesday evening, it was dedicated for Arctic Base Camp's 10-year anniversary in the Davos Promenade. And this was celebrated together with the Planet Prize winners and the Gaia Award winners as well. Let's deep dive into a couple of sessions from that particular day. One was on debating geoengineering, a hot topic in the area. And we highlighted the Frontiers in Science article that Martin Siegert published a couple of weeks before the Davos event itself, and was participated. I mean, there was Paul from the president of the University of Chicago, together with Gail, which had a very interactive discussion with Adrienne Monk, the former director of comms from the World Economic Forum. I also have a quote from Martin here. My opinion is that we have a very good option, which is decarbonizing. We're progressing that for decades, and we are not as far down as we would wish to be, but we have made progress still. We also had a focus on PlanetRise, as I mentioned. We had our international champions presenting their work to this wider community, and it was moderated by Johan Rockström himself, who was the chair of the 100 jury members. Zia was highlighting the importance of translation of science and how it needs to be actually taking it into the real world scenarios, and was also much appreciated in the crowd itself. We had a focus on space technology, which was a fully attended session, which was led by European Space Policy Institute and was moderated by the director. The interesting part of this particular session was we had 2 astronauts, which is not normal for a scientific or a Davos audience. We had 2 astronauts, one in the panel and the other in the audience. And it was we had a keynote from the Director General of the European Space Agency. We had a startup, but also a space tech company, along with a filmmaker, which made these interactions very interesting. I have a short excerpt from Joseph's keynote itself.
Of course, is strategic. We all know that, and you have heard it many times. Why is it strategic? On one side, it serves many elements of society. You have seen a couple of them on the video clip here. Space is enabling navigation of your car, on your mobile phone, of airplanes, of many other things. So without satellites, you couldn't have all that. Communication, obviously, with satellites and obviously on the ground, combined systems. Earth observation, to understand our planet, climate, but also for agriculture, for forestry, for disaster management, for many other things. Altogether, the OECD has done studies to see how many of the critical elements of our society, what we need for daily life, from transport to health to energy and many other things, how many of those do need space? And out of 16 critical sectors identified by the OECD, 11 could not do without space.
Another highlight of that particular day was the Trust in Science breakfast session. And you have to imagine this is happening at 7:30 in the morning with a full-packed invited guest list. And you have to see the people who attended, including the Director General of the European Space Agency. In the picture, you see Director General of the UNESCO, Khalid El-Elani. It was one of his first public presence after he took up his position at the UNESCO. There was also presidents from the ETH, Georgia Tech University, the chief scientists from Microsoft, Novartis, Novo Nordisk Foundation, and many more. And this was a well-attended session, as I mentioned, and we're really happy that trust in science and the topic of the trust in science was well resonated amongst our partners, among the crowd in Davos as well. The next day, the Thursday, was dedicated to the technology frontiers. We had several topics which dived deep into convergence AI, the future of intelligence, fusion energy demand for data centers, European competitiveness, and many more. I would like to dive deep as well into this particular day. One highlight was this European competitiveness session, which was well attended, of course, but also from the panelist side, we had Anne Mettler, Maria Lepton, who was the president of the European Research Council, the managing director from LinkedIn, the member of the European Parliament, and also moderated by the former Director General of the European Commission, Robert Jan Smits. I have a short excerpt from this panel as well.
The way Europe regulates emerging technologies is basically for perfection. But every technology is on a learning curve. It's not going to be perfect from day one. So if the ambition is to produce net zero, it will not be net zero from day one, right? So, and this is really what the United States and China do way better than Europe. So from our perspective, it's perfect on paper, But what good is that if it's not, it doesn't find application in the real economy? So I really believe we need to go into what I like to call the engine room of policymaking and look at how we do these things.
Another session was on quantum. Sorry, I have to just go quickly through each of these slides, but you can see the kind of intense and depth of these discussions, which brings in the quality of the program very high. The quantum session was led by UNESCO and was part of the International Year of Quantum Science and Technology. We had a Nobel Prize winner. We had leaders from the industry, including Microsoft and NVIDIA, a university leader, also representation from CERN, who was also moderating and being part of the Open Quantum Institute. UNESCO was also highlighting the International Year, and Amal Kastri was playing a key role there. I have also a short video from here, but this really is an interesting discussion, which you can shortly see.
So quantum computing offers the possibility of, filling in that gap, increasing the accuracy. But I have to disagree about one thing. I love the competition between the two fields because the outcome is science, right? And so if we're thinking about AI pushing science forward, and then maybe there's a quantum algorithm that gives a little jump ahead, and then someone comes by and comes up with an AI model that surpasses that, that's wonderful. It's wonderful for humanity because science moves forward regardless, and it doesn't matter, which technology is the winner. Science is progressing.
Yeah, so that was an interesting discussion on how science needs to be in the forefront. For this particular session, this is the future of intelligence, which was led by Henry Markram together with Microsoft.
If you look at a baby giraffe, it's born. Within 1 minute, it's standing up. Within 2 minutes, it's walking with its mum. And within 3 minutes, it's running in the savannah with its mother. There's no previous data. It's just calibrated to the cause and effect of this world. It's emerged in this world, and now it is running. That's cognition. The brain doesn't learn correlations. It learns cause and effect. And the reason why your brain only needs a banana a day and not a nuclear power station is because the causal relationship, the cause and effect that if you could only learn the cause and effect, it's a minuscule subset of all possible correlations. So it's far more efficient.
And the final evening program for that particular day on Thursday was dedicated to the future of knowledge, where Jimmy Wales officially announced the celebration of the 25 years of Wikimedia. This was also attended by the Minister of Gabonese, Minister of Digital Economy, along with Bill Gross and our co-founder and CEO, Camila Macron. Here's a short video as well.
How do you make sure that you create an AI economy and AI content that reflects our culture, our viewpoints, our perspectives, in order for it to be reflective, to be mirroring, and to be empowering, and to be an engine that really powers our growth and development?
Can I add something to that?
Yeah, please.
So I had a software company in the 1990s called Knowledge Adventure, educational software company. And at that time, I don't know if you remember, Dell Computers was just taking over compared to Compaq computers, because Compaq computers would make their computers and put them on shelves in stores, and it would take about 4 months for them to sell. So they only have 2.5 turns of inventory per year. But Dell would only take 2 weeks to make a computer because they would make it to order. So they had 26 turns on inventory per year. So more turns on inventory really, really helped. And I modified that to call our company to do turns on knowledge. How fast could you make some new knowledge and get new? And you just triggered that when you said the knowledge of your people matters so much. If you could give your people the tools to have 52 turns on knowledge every year, where every week they learn something new to improve, that would be so dramatic for society. And you inspired me to try and figure out ways that we could take all of the local content and make a proprietary AI system for people so they could have 52 turns on knowledge. That would allow them to outcompete others who are behind. And that's just very, very exciting. That would be a democratizing force.
Can I add to this as well?
Yeah, this is great.
It's a turn of knowledge, right? Science is building on science. And if you put a blockage to it, right? You can't access this to science, then you can't do these turns fast enough. Whereas when you open up all of the science, the research articles, and think of the data that comes next, if you open it up, you can turn so much faster. And I'm convinced that we would have already cures to cancer, to Alzheimer. You know, like today I sat on a neuroscience panel, I moderated it. I kept asking them, so where's the pill for Alzheimer's? And it's still 5 years away. But I'm convinced if we had all of the science openly accessible in neuroscience, in biology, whatever it is, we already would have this cure for Alzheimer's or cancer. It would be here.
Yeah, that was a very interesting discussion, and we really wanted to bring in the importance of open science to the discussion table as well. The last and the final day was focusing on governance frontiers, science governance in the 21st century. Where we had a breakfast session in the morning on open science for public good, followed by a science diplomacy session, and then we ended up with a closing plenary focusing on the road to 2035 with science. The science diplomacy session was well attended as well on the last day, but also high-level representation from the foreign minister from Switzerland, but also from the member of European Parliament. Liz Corsten represented Africa, from the president of the African Academy of Science, and also Director General from the European Space Agency. And this was a very animated discussion as well. I'll show you a quote from Liz, who significantly showcased the importance of promoting African leadership in the global science diplomacy and to ensure inclusive, equitable science for Africa.
Science diplomacy for the greater good, so that science can benefit to the greatest number possible. But it has become an instrument of geopolitics. Science security, knowledge integrity are now central elements. So it has become far more difficult to use science diplomacy for the greater good in a multilateral ambit. The way to go about it, I think, is precisely anticipation, as you alluded to, that we manage to concentrate on science, on breakthrough science, before it actually is here and has concrete translations and applications. So before it becomes a competitive differentiator in geopolitical terms.
Yeah, you really see the content coming out, right? I mean, we had 55 sessions, and it's impossible to show all the sessions in the short hour or so. So for that particular reason, we have compiled all our Science House sessions into a report. It deep dives into each session with a YouTube link to the session itself, the whole content of that particular session, the key highlights, the policy recommendations, and also an illustration of the session that was prepared live during each session at Davos. We invite you to have a read and would love to continue the discussion through your journals if you want to highlight them in the form of a research topic or for any future themes to be featured at the Science House. We also have launched our Science House collection through Policy Labs, which is an interactive platform to feature your comments. If you have any specific comments on any of these science policy dialogues, maybe it is related to your topic, your particular area of interest, please do visit the website and you can directly contribute by clicking the button. Yeah, these are science policy dialogue, which will help you to continue the discussion from the Science House into your own fields of interest. And we also have, we are exploring opportunities how the journal teams can actively be involved. Here, for example, the Frontiers Journal on Quantum Science and Technology have been highlighting the quantum session of the Science House at the closing ceremony of the International Year of Quantum in Ghana. Apparently, some of our Science House speakers and partners were also present at the event, who further appreciated the initiatives and even spoke about it in their own sessions. There are 2 research topics which are being developed with the support of UNESCO, and we're expecting high-profile contributions there as well. I'm also using this opportunity to highlight the launch of the 2026 WEF Top 10 Emerging Technology Report, a flagship report of the World Economic Forum prepared in collaboration with Frontiers, which will be announced or launched at the annual meeting of the New Champions in Dalian in June. In fact, 2 of the technologies are related to quantum and have been authored by our Frontiers editors there. And Science House is also going on a roadshow. So we will be present at key events during the course of the year at high-level panels, together with our partners in the region, where we would like to give a flavor of the Science House to the regional audience. You can see that we will be present at the Zurich Climate Week next week, at the Summer Davos, the AMNC event, at the New York Climate Week, at the STS Forum in Kyoto, at the CAST China ISC event in October, at the GESTA, at the Falling Walls in Berlin, and in Turkey for the COP31 before our Science House 2027. Please do let us know if you're also planning to attend any of these events so that we can include you in the discussions. And before I end my presentation, I want to give you an insight into what we have been developing on a global stage on the topic of science governance in the 21st century, which was highlighted at the Science House. We will be launching a collection together with the International Science Council in October at the CAST event I mentioned in China. And we will be discussing topics on the future of funding the future of science, trust in science, public-private partnership, and science governance during these uncertain geopolitical times. We would welcome your commentaries and contributions as well into this particular collection. And that brings it to my last slide. We have several information to share with you, including the report, the updates on our partners, the new themes for next year, the venue, the location, the partners whom we'll be collaborating with. Please do subscribe to our Science House newsletter, where we'll keep you posted on these advancements on our road to Davos 2027.